My name is Sarah. I am going to be a junior at the University of Michigan. I am majoring in public health on a pre-med track, and I am a senior editor at the Michigan Daily. And I'm currently working as a team photographer for the Cotuit Kettleers out on Cape Cod for the summer.
Oh, that sounds so nice. I actually just interviewed someone that also works for the Michigan Daily, Grace
I
Field.
saw that, Grace.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
That's so funny. That's nice though. Congratulations.
thank you.
So I'm gonna go ahead and start with like my questions. So my first question is when and how did you begin your photography career and pathway?
So I kind of got a little bit of a late start to photography. I originally wrote for my high school newspaper, and I wrote opinions and news articles, and I kind of became a photographer out of necessity because our one photographer on our paper had graduated. So my senior year, I picked up a camera, and I had had a camera for a few years, but it was always just hobby photography. I never really went further into it than taking photos of my friends and my dog. But I started taking photos of school events and things. And when I got to college, I really wanted to continue with the photography, or more specifically, I really loved the newspaper atmosphere. And I decided that I'd rather be in photography than writing because I just don't. Writing takes a lot of time and effort, and so does photography, but just a little bit less. So I joined the Daily, and I have learned so much since joining the Daily. My photography knowledge has expanded immensely more than I could imagine. Um, yeah.
Nice. That's so funny how like I feel like I've interviewed like a lot of people and like you're one of them where they're like, "Oh, like I was a journalist or I was like a writer and then I just ended up picking up on photography." But I've seen like your work and your work is amazing. So,
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
um what has supported your professional development?
Definitely being on the Daily. We have an extremely supportive staff, and it's all students. We don't really have any like professional mentors who are on staff or working directly with the Daily. But it's the people who I'm working side by side, sitting in the newsroom with, who have taught me the most about photography. When I first came onto staff, I didn't know how to shoot in manual. I was shooting every event in automatic, didn't know anything about camera settings at all. But just working with those people, they've educated me, and I had major imposter syndrome when I first joined staff. But just through conversations with other people on staff, I've really grown in my photography.
Nice. That's nice that you have like a supportive team like working with you and stuff. So, um what guided you towards your opportunities being a sports photographer? I know you kind of touched base on that a little bit, but I don't know if you have like if you want to expand your answer on that.
Yeah, so I really love journalistic photography, and I've learned a lot from photographing different like political events. I got to photograph the president, which was really cool. But in sports events, I found that it was a little bit more challenging to really find the story and the emotions, and I really liked that challenge because when you have a speaker, you're just photographing the speaker. There's not too much that you can do with that. But with a baseball game, there's a million different little things happening all around, and you kind of just have to learn to look for those. So, in terms of guiding me towards sports photography, I really wanted to take my background in journalistic photojournalism um, and apply that to a sports environment. So, I feel like I've done that this summer, and the journalism background gives me a different eye um, for looking for these little stories than somebody who's only shot sports.
Nice. Um, so my next question is what challenges and barriers have you encountered as a woman, if any, like on like the field that you're in?
Well, it's interesting. So I find that a lot of the younger photographers who I come across are actually women. So the Daily is a largely female staff. And on the Cape too, I was surprised to find that there's a very good percentage of photographers here who are women, but when I go to a Michigan basketball game and I'm sitting on the sidelines, it's that's not the case. So I don't know if I've really faced many barriers because a lot of the work that I've done has been among this younger group of female photographers, and I'm extremely grateful for that. I can't imagine what it must be like to not have those role models around you, but I've been very fortunate to be supported by and been able to network with a lot of these female photographers. Um, but I mean, it is a little bit intimidating when I do go to a football game or a basketball game, and that's not the environment. Um, I wouldn't say there's hostility, but there's not as much warmth, and I don't necessarily feel as welcome when I'm the only young person, the only woman at a game. And I think photography, it doesn't have to be a competition. Um, I think everybody benefits from a supportive environment. And I've found that supportive environments are fostered by the younger group of photographers who I've been working with. Um, so I guess that was a roundabout way of saying I haven't faced many barriers, but that's all thanks to the people who have paved the way for me to be in this great environment now.
That's nice. I love to hear that. I love to hear that. And I've actually seen too like a difference. There's a lot of like young women like entering this field and it's like women who you and I that are like young, like it's really motivating and like inspiring too. So I love to see that grow on that side.
Yeah, definitely.
Tell me about a time when you doubted yourself and what motivated you to push forward in your career.
So when I first joined the daily, I've never really felt much imposter syndrome, but that was I felt a lot of imposter syndrome when I first joined and I met staff and I saw how talented everybody was. And then I looked at myself and I was coming from a background of never taken a photography class, um, didn't really do photography throughout high school, did it a little bit towards my senior year. Um, and then on the daily, our photographers are just we've just got some really incredibly talented people on staff. I mean, you spoke to Grace, she's amazing. Um, so just looking at that and then looking at myself was a little bit of an uh-oh moment. Like, what did I get myself into? But as I've mentioned before, I had some very strong role models on staff who I could look to for support. And I felt comfortable asking them questions like, how do I get better? How do I do this? I really admire how you do that. How can I do that? Um, so I was able to push past that self doubt just thanks to the supportive people around me on the daily.
Nice. So speaking about those people who like support you, do you have any mentors?
Yeah, I would say the managing editors from the past year, Grace being one of them, but also Tess Crowley. They were the managing photo editors my first semester on staff, and I've always looked up to their work. They just do some really incredible things that just inspire me and push me to be a better photographer. Um, but I also, I guess it's not a direct mentorship, but using social media and social media gets a bad rap, I think, just among the younger generation. But I use Instagram a lot for inspiration. Um, and I don't really think that it's a bad thing. I'm not attempting to copy other people's work, but just seeing how others are pushing the boundaries, I think, can be really beneficial. Um, so I don't know if that's mentorship,
No,
but
I would say like in a way it is.
yeah, people are putting out some really good advice. And I think that's a really good thing too that people are willing to share. Like I mentioned before, it's not a competition. Everybody can thrive. Um, so I've learned a lot from just being on social media, and I'm grateful that my generation is learning to use social media in a more beneficial way than it might have been used in the past.
Right. So what does like a game look like for you? So like when it's like game day or like your so I actually want to split this in two parts if you don't mind.
Mhm.
So what does like game day look like for you? Like how does that work? What is your schedule like? Um just like working with photographing and then having these pictures ready and edited. Like what is that like for you?
Yeah, so I typically arrive to the field an hour before the game if it's an away game, 2 hours if it's a home game, and during that downtime before the game starts, I'm either finishing up photos from the prior day that need to be edited, or I'm taking pregame photos, whether that's photos of the players warming up, interacting with each other. There's a lot of fan content here out on the Cape. It's very family oriented, so there's always events happening at the park involving fans and families, which is always really fun to photograph. There's always so many cute little kids and so many cute little dogs wandering around the field. So I'll go out and I'll shoot some of that. Um, and then when the game starts, I'm typically stationed on the far end of the dugout, and I'll switch between the sides throughout the game. And as the game is going on, I'm shooting obviously the main action of what's happening. I'm trying to get photos of every player that's on the field, especially if we have somebody new coming in, because there's a lot of turnover in the Cape League with players coming in and out, either because they have to go back to school or just to fill in a spot left by another player. Um, so I'm shooting all of that throughout the game, and I upload photos. It really depends on what's happening. If we have something notable happen during the game, like a grand slam or a home run, then I'll go and I'll upload directly after that. But other than that, about mid game is when I'll go and I'll upload photos and I'll edit some so that our social media people can get some out onto the Instagram and the Twitter. Um, and then as the game finishes up, I'll grab some post game. If it's a win, I'll grab a little bit of the celebration. I'm always looking for the emotion in the game because it can get a little bit stale just photographing baseball game after baseball game. So you got to kind of look for the little moments in each game that make them special, and that usually comes down to the players and the people. So I like to focus on that. And then after the game is over, I will pack up my things, and I don't typically edit photos until the next day, because usually after the game, I'm using that time to catch up on all of the things that um, are on my to-do list and all of the photos that I've forgotten to edit. Um, so that is what a typical game looks like. And it's about the same for home and away games. Home games just involve a little bit more of the park atmosphere. So it can be a little bit busier, running around a little bit more. Um, but it's mostly the same. And I've got it down to a good routine after today will be our 44th game. It's our last game of the regular season.
Oh, wow, that's so nice. That's so nice. It sounds really busy, but, I feel like I say this a lot, like, in all the interviews, it sounds really busy. It is really busy. It's like you're running around a lot and making sure that, like, everything is running smoothly too, so, congratulations on keeping everything well after that, so,
Thank you.
um so I actually had a question out of curiosity. What does, like, a practice look like for you? So, I don't know, do you shoot practices? Or
Yeah,
is
I
it
do occasionally.
what is that like? What is that like? How does that I've never asked this question before, so it was just, like, out of curiosity. Yeah, what is that like?
So practice schedules can vary pretty widely, but most of the time when I'm shooting is like batting practice. So they've actually got it up right now, but they've got this, they call it the turtle, like a big net over the back of home plate. Um, so I'm typically just like shooting through that net, and practices, the atmosphere is a little bit more casual. So I get a lot of like fun little like player interaction shots during that, but I try to stay out of the way. I mean, I stay out of the way at games too, but um, I don't know. Practices are important, so I don't want to be in everybody's faces when they're trying to focus. But that being said, they are more casual than games, so I can push the boundaries just slightly more during practices.
Nice. Um, that sounds really fun though.
It is, and being at this park is amazing. Like, here, I'll show you really quick. Like, I don't know if you'll be able to see it. It's just
Oh, wow. Is that in Cape Cod? Like, is that where you currently are right now?
yeah. Mhm.
That's so nice. It is really
Yeah,
beautiful.
it's gorgeous.
Um, what has been your biggest accomplishment?
Hmm. Honestly, I think working this position, probably. I'm really proud of the work that I've put together this summer, and also I got a compliment from one of my friends the other day, like, she told me that I keep making baseball look exciting, and she is not a baseball fan. Um, so in my eyes, that's a big accomplishment because I kind of pride myself on my ability to approach sports and events in kind of a different way than some other people might. Um, just finding new ways to make the game look unique, and highlighting parts of the game that might not be at the forefront of other people who are making content. Um, Other than that, a big accomplishment, or maybe this is just a cool event I've shot, but photographing Biden was very cool. That was kind of a crazy moment, where I had to take a second and think like, wow, I really didn't actually know how to work a camera when I stepped onto Michigan's campus, and now I'm photographing the president. So that was a major. I'm very proud of myself in that moment. But yeah, I'm very happy with what I've done this summer.
That's nice. That's good. I'm glad that you've been able to accomplish things like at a really young age. I know like a lot of people I'm gonna like talk about myself a little bit. I know this isn't about me, but I'm gonna just use myself as an example. Like actually I've always loved photography ever since I was little, but I didn't really start picking up on it until I got to college. So it's been like a little hard to like really get myself out there at the university I go to is like really big on sports and I've been wanting to get myself out there with that, but it's been really hard because it's also like my schedule and making sure like I'm not falling behind in classes, but I think just like listening to your story and like seeing everything you've done, it's like motivating me to like push out of that like zone and be like, no, I can do multiple things at once. And I feel like experience is really important too. And you have a lot of it. So that's nice.
Oh yeah, definitely. And just on that same point, like, I've always been somebody who can't really make up their mind on what they want to do. So I've just pursued everything, and I like pursue everything to the fullest. So I'm studying public health, and I'm working on public health research and projects in that, but I'm also out here for the entire summer doing photography. So there definitely is space to pursue all of the things that you want to do. Um, but also I think like having the background in a different field or a different topic gives you um, a different perspective to the other things that you do pursue, especially photography. Um, so yeah, I think you can't go wrong.
Yeah. Um, what is something you hope to achieve in the future?
I would like to work for a major league team. Ideally, that's kind of my goal right now. Um, that's a very concrete goal. In terms of maybe less concrete, that's a good question. I need to reflect on this a little bit more. Um, well, right now, dream job is working for the Red Sox. I'll just say that. Um, so maybe just getting to work on a little bit bigger of a stage, um, is something that I'm kind of aiming towards. The Cape League is an incredible, very unique environment, but it's very different from um, what working in a professional league might look like. Um, so I'd really love to get some experience outside of this.
Nice. I mean, your goals are not really, how would I say? Um, like you say, like they're really concrete or like they maybe like in your mind they seem like really far, but you're doing a lot right now to like work towards it. So you never know. Maybe it'll happen soon.
You never know. We'll see.
Um, What does success mean to you?
Success is setting goals for myself and then working to fulfill those based on my own standards and not based on anybody else's idea of what success might look like. Because everybody's goals and what's realistic for them is different. And my hopes and dreams are very different from even somebody else working in baseball photography. Um, so just sticking to my values and accomplishing the things that I really want um, would be success for me.
Good, nice. What advice do you have for aspiring women in sports photography?
Yeah. So I think the advice that I would have given myself when I was just starting out is just to take every single opportunity that presents itself. Um, I am not one for portrait photography, but I photographed a wedding last summer and I learned so much from it. That's an opportunity that I took that I would have turned down and I would have been a worse photographer for it. Um, so even if the opportunity does not align directly with what you specifically want to be doing, I say take it. And also going back to my prior point about pursuing different fields, even if you love photography and you know you want to go into it for sure as your career, I still think there's a lot of value in learning as much as you can about different areas, pursuing different passions. Because I've been able to overlap some of my other passions with photography too, and that's led to really amazing opportunities. Um, but beyond taking opportunities, I think doing your best to find a supportive group of people who are invested in your career advancement and who um, are not competitive is really important. And that's a lot easier said than done. Um, but finding a group of people, even if it's just one or two others, or sending a DM to somebody on Instagram who you admire, um, just finding people who want to grow together, I think is really important. And that's played a really big role in my growth as a photographer too.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for your advice. Um, that's really it on my end. I don't know if you want to maybe like speak about anything else or if you have any questions for me. But that's really it.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for asking me to do this. It was really nice and gave me a good opportunity to kind of reflect on my experiences and everything. Um, I'm kind of curious though about like some of the other interviews that you've done. Is there anything that like has stuck out to you that somebody else said or anything like really interesting that you've learned?
Honestly, I feel like I've learned a lot like out of my interviews, which is what I was hoping like to kind of get like a scope of like what this field is like, what the industry is like. And I've only been interviewing women because that's like what my project is also based on, like just women. Um Honestly, I think something that's like really stuck out to me is what you spoke about how like you've been surrounded by like other young women, and I feel like times have really changed. I know like before, like even just like a few years back, like and even still, like the field is dominated by like male, like that's like usually what it is. But I have seen it grow a lot, and like interviewing women like you and interviewing like all these women I've interviewed this whole summer has like made me see things in a very different way, and like honestly not anything I was expecting to hear. Like, I was expecting to hear, like, the complete opposite, but, yeah, and it's been really motivating, so I feel like that's something that's, like, really stuck to me and, like, stuck out to me, like, wow, like, just being able to reflect on that, it's big. So, actually,
Oh
thank
yeah.
you also to, for allowing me to interview you.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I definitely agree with you. When I got to school, I was expecting a much different environment, even on the daily, but it's been a very nice surprise.
Yeah. Alright, well, thank you so much, I hope the best for you, I wish the best for you in the future. I know, like, anything you'll end up doing, you'll be great at. I've seen your work, and you're very talented. You're very talented.
Yeah, and thanks for taking the time to speak with me. And I hope the rest of your interviews go well.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Take care.